What's up, everybody? I'm Damon Hatfield, and welcome to something new we are trying out. We're piloting something, and I'm the pilot. I'm joined today by Per Schneider, Sam Claiborne, and Miranda Sanchez. Hello there. The reason I've assembled these Avengers of Gaming, this is something we're calling Is It Still Fun Today? The idea is we revisit a beloved game that we haven't played in a while in order to determine, is it still fun today? And for this inaugural episode, I thought it would be interesting to revisit a game that for quite some time was considered by many to be the greatest game ever made. To this day, it is still the highest rated game ever on Metacritic. It's the only game with a 99 score. It is, of course, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Released in 1998, not only did it bring the Zelda franchise into the third dimension, not only is it the best reviewed game ever, it's probably the biggest shot in the arm the humble ocarina wind instrument ever received in its 12,000 years of existence. So, Per, I've invited you here not only because your experience and perspective brings a lot to the table, but also because you reviewed Ocarina of Time for IGN back in 1998. You gave it a 10 out of 10, and your review opens with the line, "The new benchmark for interactive entertainment has arrived." What do you remember about reviewing Ocarina of Time?
I thought you invited me because I own 3 ocarinas. It's true.
Wow. Can you play one? Can you perform Song of Time for us?
Not.
Okay.
That was an interesting review because it was at an age where reviewing games was really complicated, and a representative from Nintendo had to come into our offices handcuffed to a Nintendo 64 with this like Saw movie like metal clamp on top that held the cartridge in place, and then actually stay in a room with us overnight while we're trying to finish the game. So yeah, it was very early on. Does the game still hold up? I think we will be getting into that in our 14-hour discussion.
Yeah, it's going to be a 14-hour discussion.
I stand by that review.
Video essay, yeah.
Per, did you also play the Japanese version early of Ocarina before you played the North American version?
I'm trying to remember how that went.
You definitely played it at, not CES, maybe E3 by then.
No,
right?
I did get to play an early version at an event in San Francisco with like Miyamoto, and everybody was there, and like we got to sit in beanbag chairs and play for a few hours.
He sat in a beanbag with Miyamoto?
By,
yeah.
He walked by and he's like watching your screen, and you're like going like, am I playing this okay? And he's like,
He's like watching Per play. It's like, we're going to have to add that Z targeting after all.
And he goes like, interesting. And then he keeps walking. And then he looks at another guy and goes like, you don't have the horse yet?
You don't have the horse yet.
And then I bet he flew to Austin and started work on that pre-production of Metroid.
That's right. No, that review, look, I don't think I've changed anything in the years and snuck in there. I still stand by it. It's such a good game still. I recently replayed it on Switch Online. Mm-hmm. I started just to see what they screwed up and whether the emulation was bad. And then I just, once you get past the Kokiri BS in the beginning, you're like, man, this is so good.
I like the Kokiri stuff. We'll see if I like it this time around, I suppose.
It's a little slow.
Miranda, when I reached out to you about this, you said you'd been wanting to revisit Ocarina of Time. Is that right?
The big reason I wanted to replay this was because my heart was it just belonged to Ocarina of Time. Like it's a foundational game for me. I was quite young when it came out. I don't actually remember how old I was when we had it in my home. Obviously, like my parents, the 64 was theirs, and I was like, I want to play this, give it to me. And so like, yeah, you can play Zelda, it looks cute, it looks good. And I was like, yeah, and lo and behold, it's just like this incredible journey that made me feel so much guilt as a child.
Did you get freaked out by the stuff under the well?
Yeah, I did.
Yes, like, there was so much like the Redeads, literal nightmares.
Yeah, I was just going to say the Gibdos or Redeads, yeah. It's Redeads in that game, right? There's Gibdos in the second one.
Yeah, that was terrifying. And like we would scream. I would scream when they would scream. And I was like, no. Then my mom would be like, what are you doing? And I
was like an actual sample on that cartridge. Like that was a choice to use that much space to put that scream in there. But they probably use it for some other 10 other things too.
I feel like that was the level when Miranda decided to have an actual skeleton in her home.
Yeah, I do have a skeleton in here.
There it is.
Her name's Lorelai.
Lorelai.
I have her standing up now. She used to sit for a long time, and now she just gets to lurk in the corner next to my Bloopy, which is a custom plush that I ordered.
Miranda got that sent to the office, and she took it home on our subway train, Bart, one day.
I did.
And I always pictured that.
And that wasn't even close to being the weirdest thing that happened on Bart that day.
No.
No.
Yeah, 100%.
No.
Not even on that ride.
I was sitting in a little chair and I had her standing next to me, and I put
right.
like plastic wrap on her feet because I didn't want her feet to touch the ground on our trains. And then like I would just see people just like kind of
Carpeted trains.
like just taking photos, just kind of like trying to be sneaky about it. I'm like, I mean, you need to take a photo of it, guys. Like just
Yeah. I would
Still
have been
take a
like,
photo of me.
thank God it's Skeleton Girl on the train, not this other 10 people.
Yeah.
on the-
oh god,
Exactly.
yeah. There's a lot of things that you don't want to see
Yeah,
on the
cross your
train.
fingers. It's just Skeleton Girl. All right. Well,
It's just Skeleton Girl.
But yeah, but basically, I've really wanted to replay Ocarina of Time because it is so foundational for me. And now I'm like, wow, Tears of the Kingdom has completely changed my life. Breath of the Wild too, and those sit in the weird like camp of together for me.
Yep.
And I'm like, man, do these compare to my love for Ocarina of Time? That's kind of why I want to go back to it.
Yep, same. I'm excited to revisit it. I haven't played it since it was released in 1998. So we are now going to go our separate ways, play the game for a week or so, and then we'll reconvene and we'll dig into our 14-hour discussion. Let's find out if The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is still fun today, or is it just Ocarina of Time? Let's find out.
No.
And we're back. We played the Song of Time. Only a moment has passed for you watching this video or listening to this podcast, but it has been months. It's been months since we embarked on this adventure. We recorded the intro in June before IGN Live, and then event season just carried us all the way to Comic-Con and
Now the world
Gamescom.
is full of zombies.
And now
Oh
we're back.
no.
Yeah, now the world.
Crows everywhere.
Ganon has destroyed
are
the
good,
world.
We're older and can no longer use a slingshot.
Lost 7 years of my life. You know?
So everybody, I'm going to collect your copies, hand them back here. Here's one.
Okay, yeah.
Here's 2 and 3. Thank you. Thank you. I'll take these back.
Okay, perfect. The good news is we had a lot more time to play Ocarina than we were planning on. So
Thank you.
I'm excited to hear everyone's thoughts. But for me, the short answer to is Ocarina of Time still fun today? It is yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. This is a very special game that is packed with charm. Still feels like a big adventure. The temples are genius, and every step of the way, the music is incredible. It's one of the greatest video game soundtracks of all time. There are some slight quirks that are products of their time, but they don't diminish the overall package. So, Pear, start with you. You reviewed Ocarina of Time in 1998. How does it sit with you today?
A different century. It's first of all, your experience will vary depending on what controller setup you use.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Nintendo patched things with Switch 2 where you can remap buttons, so all is well. But originally, with the Switch 1 re-release, it mapped it to controllers in the most horrific way. It's one of those games that was designed with the N64 controller in mind. Camera controls were sorely missed, but they used the C buttons as basically your inventory, and it was a really clever way to let you assign the things you really needed, right? At the time. Yeah, I this game obviously has been fresh in my mind because I've revisited it over the years, played it on 3DS again, probably 2 times, and then played it again in emulation and on different devices. And yeah, it's like, you start it and it starts slow like a lot of Zelda games do, but just sort of easing you into the basic controls. But at this point, you know, like we know what happens in the beginning, and you kind of like, you don't need the tutorial for jumping and sword play and cutting bushes and all of that, or using your fairy to Z target people who are far away and talking to them. Like all of that you sort of like blaze through. And then you get right into the game, and like the first dungeon is already great.
Yeah.
I gotta hear what your Scarecrow song is, Pear.
I just go so I don't forget. I just go left, right, left, right, left, right.
I know, yeah. Is it left, right?
Yeah, it's left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. How about you guys?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think mine might have been up, down.
Yeah.
I just play Song of Storms
Oh, you do?
all the way
Okay,
through
that's
until
easy.
it stops.
Oh,
Yeah.
very clever. Anyway, you get into the deco tree and the atmosphere, and this is when you go back now. You're used to games being cinematic, but games were not that way back then. You go into the deco tree and the camera zooms out, and it's got these
the camera
sweeping
motion,
camera
that's what
moves. Yeah.
It shocked me. I didn't remember that like there's so much camera stuff. Like the camera will come in from way from the edge of the level and come in and like go right into Link's face. He's like, ah! And there's like all kinds of stuff.
And
like
then
I think they do that several times too, and I think it was like one of my favorite parts that just felt like they're taking liberties of making this a bigger experience beyond you, and that like the flying through, and that happens several times with different flying characters. Well, it shows you this world in a different way, and it gives that sense of scope that I don't feel like you really got in a lot of games at that time. And it was just such a cool way to mix it up too.
Yeah, I was shocked that it works so well too. It's like so seamless. Like that was the disc based at the time, like problems with cutscenes, right?
Yeah,
is that they loaded, and then they look completely different because they were FMV or whatever they were, and you go back to the game. But this, I remember IGN talking about this when I was first reading IGN, that they're like in-engine cutscenes and why they matter. Like this is why they matter.
It's a completely organic experience, and they've developed their own language, right? Like they letterbox the display whenever. Like some of the faces are comical now, like Zelda when she turns around, she's like, you know. But remember one thing, they did. It looked different on a CRT TV, right? Like there were lines that were left free, and like so the color blending, the way it all comes together, it looks more rounded when you play it on an old school TV like that, because they also the curvature of the screen, they took that into consideration back then. But like going back to the deco tree, you immediately learn the sort of the rules of water will put out fire, but you need to get the fire to the other side. And what do you do whenever you do something? The effect is shown, like a ladder falls down, and then super clever.
That's right.
When you do something in a room and you unlock a door and it goes, it opens. The camera by default positions you with a line of sight towards the thing that you unlocked, and it's
and it draws that line of sight to your head.
Yeah,
the stuff they figured out back then in this game that we just take for granted today is just awesome. Like combat, locking on, always having a visual, like having your enemy, all of those things. There's some warts.
Yeah,
jump button.
Well, also, I think that worked. I think what the auto jumping, just running off a cliff.
It works.
Running off an edge. I think it works very well.
You fall by accident. Yep.
But you can just roll.
Yep.
You'll be okay. It did really bug me when I started replaying this. Just not being able to control the camera is because this was 2 years after Mario 64.
Yeah.
They still didn't trust people to just control their own camera. I don't know.
There wasn't enough buttons.
That was it. They ran out of buttons.
The hardest thing I think people are going to have coming into this game, if they want to play it again, is it still fun today? Yes, but if you take time off and it's been a bit, getting back and getting used to how the camera operates by using Z targeting is one of the most obnoxious things. It feels like in some ways it feels like some of the harder games where it's like if you take a step back from it for too long, you kind of forget everything. And that's how it feels to play this, and sometimes where the controls just don't feel very intuitive at some points. And you get used to that pretty quick, but that feels extra sticky on boss fights. Like I had that issue in so many boss fights. I'm like, just look this way, Link, please, for the love of God. It's really hard to adjust to that after having the luxury of moving my own camera for almost every single game.
So they do
that
this
I play
thing
these days.
When you walk into a new room, you're rarely attacked where you're standing, and so you can pop into first person and look around.
Exactly.
But now we want to organically do this while we explore. And this game doesn't let you do that. You have to like survey, and then you run in, and you got to constantly snap you got to like snap that camera behind you to look at everything, right?
Yeah.
The first time you go ahead.
I was going to say, you also have the problem of Navi wanting not to lock on enemies.
Yes.
Like, if they're close, but they're just still too high, she doesn't want to go up there. And I'm like, can you please look at this bat so it doesn't set me on fire? Like, I can't target it.
They're just far enough away to not target them. You're like, that bat's just going to hit me, isn't it? Yep. It's going to hit me. It's coming to hit me.
Camera is the biggest issue. And then when you're locked on, your functions are different, right? Then you can do, when the Z button is pressed, you can do backflips and things. things, but you can also fall off things that you couldn't fall, that you don't jump when you locked on. And
I
all
love
that
the
stuff.
backflip so
So
much.
the backflip
I just
is awesome.
spam it so much.
The way the combat works, how you can sidestep around characters, like it feels really good and really organic.
Z-targeting still feels great.
Yeah.
Once
That's
you're
really
locked
genius.
on, it's like, oh, this is awesome.
But the camera controls are missed, and there's some areas where they don't want to give you free camera control because of how the levels are constructed, right?
Yeah.
You guys,
they
if
made
you're
a little 2D background and wrapped it around a town, and just run around in a circle.
if you use a like a tool like NoClip, and you can see how the world is constructed, like literally. When you're inside the farm, there's no world outside. It's just like it has like tapestry around it. When you're in the marketplace, it is a circular, like you're inside a hat box basically that rolls around you. And like the thing that amazed me is when you're in a house in the Kokiri forest in the first village, when you're inside a house and you hit C up, it does a third person view from the top. And they actually have to create a different version of that house. That's like, it doesn't come free. They have to do a couple of things in order for you to be able to switch.
It's pre-rendered, right? It's
they have like pre-rendered textures. When you're on top of Death Mountain, you look down, you see a tiny version of Kakariko Village in the background, and it's just
those used to look better in CRTs. I'll tell you that.
It looks everything. It's designed to be blurry, and so when you're on an LCD or OLED or something, it does. It's
designed to be blurry. That's exactly right.
The magic trick is given away, right?
Sure.
But back then that was mind blowing because we thought it was an open world. They simulate an open world, but it's just cleverly interconnected little paintings and tricks that make it happen. And so, going back to it again, I'm just struck by how creative this team was and how much work they did to pretend that it was an open world.
Sam, how about you? Still fun today?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we were starting this project out in a very busy week where there was a bunch of games we were supposed to be playing for work. And I was texting Damon saying, like, I just want to play Ocarina more. Like, it was that, it drew me in that much. And especially after the Jabu Jabu kind of, which I actually liked all of this. I always remember being like, oh, I have to play as fast as I can to get past Jabu Jabu, then I like this other stuff better. But I liked all of it. Yeah. And the Jabu Jabu stuff was difficult and complicated. Luckily, I brought 2 different strategy guides along for the ride. And
which one's the official one?
Strategy guides. They're both official.
Oh, wow.
Cool. See, this one says the official guide from Nintendo Power. And this is the official guide from Brady.
Oh, I see.
Cool.
I may have worked.
Yeah, I think official was a different term back then. These guides are horrible.
I didn't work on the Brady one.
Well, the IGN guide is good.
They don't use maps. They don't tell you where anything is. They just have like a page with like a picture, and it's like tip.
You know what?
Sure. This is what Link does next. Look at that big blank map. Thanks for nothing, everybody.
They were coding this really down to the wire, and I think the teams, the strategy teams, didn't get a lot of time with the game early. Like usually the official guides.
Well, there
people
were
are embedded.
later released ones, though. I remember going to like a Borders in 1998 and getting that by the holiday seasons, like this came out in November, I think, and then by December there's already a later pressing of something with like much better stuff in it. It was much better. But so I was drawn in. I stuck with it. I got the furthest I've gotten to the water temple, which means I played through the forest temple and the fire temple. The fire temple was a really fun revisit.
What a great puzzle.
Just like kind of It's like the column of the center of that thing and how you like just wrapping your head around like, oh, that's what's happening here. You barely figure that out. And then you don't really use that hammer for anything else in the game aside from breaking some world things. So I thought that was kind of funny, but you do use it there. But yeah, very clever. And then that temple is where things start, where things are so hidden in there that you have to listen for those Skulltula sounds.
Yep.
And then my favorite thing about that point in the game is that you get a compass. And then you really need it. And you look and you're like, There is a chest in that room. Oh man, I have to get it. Then you go back and it's a freaking heart, like a tiny little refills one heart. Like, oh, this is a troll chest.
No, this is just Nintendo. This is what they do. Like, I feel like a lot of the times you go for a hard reward in almost any Zelda game, it's not going to be actually rewarding unless it's a big chest. It's just, exactly. It's like the satisfaction that you cleared it 100%.
Yeah, and you can clear it. You can 100% these dungeons and it feels so good.
But Sam, from a strategy guide writer, and Miranda, from a strategy guide writer's perspective, obviously this is gold for us because like you'll go through the forest temple and you hear behind a wall and you're like, I don't know how to get it. And like the answer is you can't. You have to come back. Sometimes you have to get bombs. Sometimes, which you get later, or you have to get the hook shot.
Is going to help you, right? The item from the dungeon. So you're like, you don't go so hard until you get the compass, the map, and the item, and then you're like, I'm going to have to do a sweep.
Yep,
so then, my other like point of context that I want to throw out is that I've since I played Breath of the Wild, they ever replaced my favorite game of all time, which was Ocarina, and I, was think about all the reasons why that is and why Tears of the Kingdom is so wonderful and why I never want to go back to these kind of what I would refer to as more linear Zelda experiences. This game is not that. It's still open. It's more Metroid like. You backtrack a lot. It's less like the first Zelda game than you'd expect, which is really open world. I mean, The Legend of Zelda for NES is like a perfect example of an open world game. This is like it's tighter and it's the way it sends you back to things is clever because there's two different eras, right? And all that. So the reason I enjoy this game though now is partially nostalgia and comfort, right? Like it's just like it's so fun to return to and it's so familiar and lovely. But it also is really fun and in its satisfaction that it gives you of how you progress. When you do get something, you can do a lot more things. Like you generally, when you get the hook shot, you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like think of all the pieces of wood that you can go back to and just aim at that. But then some are too far away. And you're like, oh, well, what's going to solve? Like it's so clever in in the world opening up and being less, I think, dense than I remember, but still more interactive than I remember.
That's kind of what surprised me as well, is how much there is to do. Although when I got into an area, I felt like my brain just clicked and I remembered so much. Like, I gotta do all these side things. I know exactly how to find this. I know how many cuckoos to find. I know, like, what the secrets are, which tombstone to pull. And that felt really satisfying, but at the same time, it makes me excited for anyone who hasn't played it because I think they'd be surprised by how much there is to do, how much optional stuff there is. Like the mini games, they get really hard, but you get addicted. Yeah, and I think that's something we still have, and obviously they've carried on with, but it feels like there's just a bit more life and density to this world than like Tears of the Kingdom, where everything is really open and sometimes it feels like you're just going through a bunch of empty space with some monsters. You can find some like old rusted swords and stuff, but this one feels like the towns just feel a little bit more alive or more dead, I guess you could say sometimes. Like there's just a lot of character to them, whereas sometimes when I was walking through Tears of the Kingdom, everything felt a little small for the scale of like what I feel like they could develop to, whereas this sort of met my expectations of like life in these towns. And I think that's really cool to see where that all started in a lot of cases. I also just kind of on the development part of just being a guide writer and loving how things are structured, I love how so much of this game is reliant on hints. Like, even though people are like, man, Navi just talks to you all the time. She's giving you all these directions. Until she doesn't. Yeah. Until you're just like,
where to go.
Yeah. Where do you go? And I'm like, well, I remember where to go. But it took me like an hour to remember how to get the water temple stuff started. It's just like, wait a second.
Yeah, I noticed that there are some obscure moments, right? Remember, you have to talk to, I think, Malin in the back of the village, but she's not there during the day or something, right? They actually changed.
That one is really tough to figure out.
Some of those, and then time does not pass when you're in that area, only outside in the world. And like the 3DS version actually fixes that. So there are some changes where they knew that their puzzles were a little bit had some issues, but I remember this game so well because I played it so many times, wrote a guide and all of that. But when I started playing again, I like fell into a hole with a cow in it. I'm like, oh man, the cow. What do you do with a cow again? Like, do I play a song? Like, how do I get the milk here? No way. And like, there are surprising
I have
amount
a jar, but why isn't this cow giving me any milk?
of secrets. But the thing that always struck me with this game is how many different types of secrets there are. There's a rumble secret where the rumble pack pulsates. There's a sound secret where you have to listen to something. There's a visual thing, right? Like, and then you start piecing it back together. And it's really cool.
You mentioned.
Do you remember the Sheikah stones being like super mysterious? And there's so much you can do with these, but they don't really do anything. It's like you can hit them or bomb them or read them with the mask. That's
they fly into the sky.
Every object's going to have some kind of effect with this. It's so interesting.
Yeah. I think even though playing with the guide's really helpful, one thing that I've always loved about Zelda games is they kind of just trust you to figure it out as well. Like, there's a lot of hints. Like, there's even as early as, what was it? Just going to Zora's Domain for the first time and going to go through all of that. It's like, how do I kick this off to get to Lord Jabu Jabu? Like, how do I get him to move? And you can leave, or you can go do this cool little diving game. It's like, this just happens to be here. And I
always get lucky because I always forget that. I'm like, oh, you do have to leave this little tunnel down here. That's always frustrating.
Right, yeah. And so it just kind of feels like it's trying to point you in a direction of like, oh, you can't do this yet. But what else can you do in this area? And it kind of forces you to explore that. And I like that design for it.
That game reminds me of how horrible it is to not have a big wallet in that game. It's you can jump off that and you're like, I just got 300 rupees and I can store 99.
Oh man, I got
crazy.
This happens in Wind Waker too. Wind Waker, you're constantly over your wallet size.
Yeah. Remember that?
I focused Skulltulas just immediately. I was like, I'm getting my wallet upgrades. Give it.
And there's a lot available. I mean, like, you can really open world the Skulltulas. Like, that's a really fun thing to do. Go at night, roll against trees. Like, there's so many ways to get them.
Can we talk about how creepy this game is, Damon?
Yeah, we should talk about it.
Because the Skulltulas, you walk into that house for the first time, and you're like, oh no, right? Like, there's like a half-human weird spider creature, and they're all cursed. And then there are these moments, like, it is eerie. The music in the Forest Temple, the weird, like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. It's so creepy. You always think there's something, and then you forget that the hallway has a freaking Skulltula dropping from the top and like bumps into you. There are these moments of like genuine surprise and scary moments. And then there's the cutscene where you go back into Kakariko Village and something escapes the well. Right? And like it points your nose at, hey, there's something wrong with the well. And you're like, I've been here 100 times. This didn't happen. What happened now? You go down into the well and you're like, oh God.
Yeah.
Oh God.
But the adult world is generally like really dark. Like the town is filled with dead things, like, which is crazy. And it's like shocking when you get there the first time. You can't go back, and they're like, maybe you should check. Dobby's like, maybe we should check in with Sari. I think she's still alive, because it's completely crazy. All the kids are not in the forest until you get into the Lost Woods, and then one of them tries to block you still.
The Link, basically they took Link to the Past and then they made it into like this sort of, it's a grown-up version, right? It has the two worlds, but in Link to the Past, you go to the Dark World. It is less. Like, it feels less pleasant to be there. It's like it is a bad world and everything is transformed, but it still isn't that threatening. Like in Ocarina of Time, you're like, what is going on here? Yeah. Like, everything is messed up. You walk into the guardhouse. Like, first of all, the castle town is in ruins. You walk into the guardhouse and there's this one-eyed dude sitting there buying souls, and like, it's just so weird.
The Goron town is just like completely empty.
Yeah, that's so sad. And
what happened to the Gorons?
Yeah, I think it's just that sudden shock of obviously everything's different, but there's also the horror for Link where he's still just a child, but it's like, now you're an adult. And
and they kind of explain it to him and in like these kind of interesting ways. I think Sheik does it, where like Sheik's just like over and over just saying like, and now Link, remember, you're a big boy now and you can't do this anymore. No, it's so weird.
I think that's one of the main, like the main themes that resonate with people so well. The emotional hook is that you're a kid who's different, right? That's very relatable. You feel different, but you're important and you have a destiny. People like that. There's all, it's a kid going on an adventure by themselves, like Goonies or something.
You're leaving town.
But then all of a sudden he has to grow up. You're forced to grow up, and everyone has, mixed feelings about growing up and getting more responsibilities. So I think these are like universal themes that have resonated with people.
Yeah, there's that cool moment though when you're grown up and you realize how much more powerful your sword is, right? Like he could he can't use some of the items anymore that he used to use as a kid, but he gets much cooler stuff. And that's the Forest Temple. The first time you get the bow and arrow, you're like, yeah, now we're cooking with gas, right? Like it gets
and
to
then
be
you
really
go back
cool.
to the slingshot and you're like, this is a child's
This is for
toy.
babies.
What is it? But the first time you get that, you're like, now you
Heck
Skulltulas are
I'm Dennis the
down.
Menace.
I'm Dennis the Menace, exactly.
I mean, and the boomerang's funny because you get at the late child, stage, so you barely use it.
Yeah.
But then you go back and you realize you have to use it to get all these like distant Skulltulas and stuff in the past, which are not in the future, and like it's complicated.
And you mentioned spooky stuff. The Shadow Temple has a torture chamber with a blood-soaked floor. It's like, what?
I don't know how I made it through the Shadow Temple when I was a kid. Because, like, I was really little. And the whole shift of, oh, now you're an adult. Also, you kind of mess up because you let Ganon basically get what he wants and destroy the future, even though you're kind of supposed to.
Because you bring him the medallions.
Yeah,
is that
I
what
felt, because you open the temple and I was like, man, I feel so guilty. I feel awful. And then everything's terrible. And I was just like having this complex about, and I was like really little. I think it was like 7 or
And
something.
the Shadow Temple has these like ships of the dead too.
Yeah.
Remember, it has these real.
I
It's
love
like the
that
river
part.
Styx down there,
Yep,
and
yep.
like
And those
and the
enemies
creepy
are not
hand
easy.
people.
Yeah.
The what are they called? They're kind of buff Plazalfo skeletons.
Yep.
What are they called? They're very
Stalfos.
common. They're just
Stalfos.
Bokoblin Stalfos. That's
Stalfos,
right,
yeah.
Those are kind of hard. They kind of teach you at certain moments about sword and shield parrying combat and stuff like that. One of them is the switching Lizalfos, where they know you can't lock onto two and they could easily just stab you.
Yeah.
Right? So one always goes, and it hops away.
That fight is so good. It's like
It's so good.
I love
right?
that.
And then they jump
If
across
you-
these things. Yeah.
Yeah, and in that scene, if you jump off the side of that, you fall down to another level, and you have to get all the way back up there too. Like that's an actual region you've been in before, which is really neat.
Those combat set pieces are really clever. And then, a lot of the enemies are, staple enemies from past games. But like in Link to the Past, seeing a bubble enemy was like this circulating thing you can spray fairy dust on and get unlimited fairies. In here, it is literally a flying skull with wings and makes like skull noises and like sets you on fire. It's so cool. It's very creepy, and the Forest Temple doesn't have any super scary enemies in it. It
has an amazing boss fight.
Phantom Ganon.
But
That Phantom Ganon boss fight is
then-
so cool.
But then it goes into the creepiest boss battle with someone jumping out of paintings.
Yeah.
Still that effect of him going in the painting and still like riding up the hill in the painting. It still looks so cool today. It's like what?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Man.
And
How did they come up with that? Like, why is Phantom Ganon there? Like, why does that? It's kind of paced well in hindsight because it's like the first adult Link battle.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
like, is this the end of the game? And like, there's kind of like,
Don't think too hard about it. Like a lot of stuff doesn't make sense in that game. But like
Just enjoy it.
the creepiness impressed me, and then just the sense of scale when you're climbing Death Mountain and you you look down, and then you make the mistake of talking to Gaipora, the owl, and you say. Should I repeat this?
God.
Yes. No.
And then you do it again accidentally, and he's like,
Did that get you guys
for the
this time you played
the
it?
next 30 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh?
Did you accidentally press yes this time?
Oh,
playing
I did
it?
twice.
I did, yeah.
I'm like, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's the worst loop. But then just the sense of space you get from looking down, and you understand how this entire world fits together, and then you get to the fence, and you don't know how to get into the Lake Hylia area, and then you do, and and then remember, there's like fishing in it all of a sudden, and you realize you can just cast the lure. It's just so cool.
And Sam,
And
you
they withhold the Spirit Temple and the desert until the very end, which is really neat. Like they hide everything else in plain sight. And then that area is an
And
expanded.
they train you for it, right? My least favorite dungeon is Jabu Jabu because you have to pick up Ruto all the time, put her down, and
and there's
the
no
rules.
shortcuts. Like I kept on trying to like rip through that. I'm like, nope, you just gotta go
the
slow. Throw her in a bunch of enemies.
The rules are not clear. How she despawns and all of that, and where to find her. Right? Like it's a little hokey, that level. Once you get through that, though, it gets so much better. And then I love how they train you for when you first break into the castle. They train you with a stealth sequence where you're hiding from the guards. And then when you get to the desert, you do that at a grander scale in like the Gerudo Valley. And that leads to probably one of the best dungeons in all of Zelda with the Desert Desert Colossus, Spirit Temple.
As grim as everything can be, especially in the adult side, it's also still really funny. Like, they make Link scream a lot, like in Surprise. Like, they just kind of throw him everywhere.
When the Gorons
People just
want
kind
to
of
hug
invade his
him,
personal space.
And he runs off.
So good. Sam, you're comparing it to the more modern Zelda games, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. Anytime we cover those games, there's always a commenter or two who's like, this is not my Zelda. I prefer the older style Zelda games. And I was always very dismissive of that because I love Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom so much. But now I get a little bit more having played this game because it's its own thing. It's different. It's a much more like focused
storybook.
Yeah, it's you're playing the adventure. You're not set free to explore the wilderness on your own with a bunch of tools and find your own way. It's very focused and sort of like funneling you through the story. And also, nobody's making games like this anymore. There's like no Ocarina of Time that's being made today.
Yeah, it is hard, right? And it's even harder to make Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Otherwise, more companies would make them. Like Ubi's tried, but never quite gotten to that level.
So it's like Beyond Good and Evil was a Ocarina-like.
And there was the Darksiders. There was the Darksiders series, but now that's it's been a long time since we've had that.
But they never have that sort of progression where you go, now I have a horse, right? Like this sort of these pivotal moments in Ocarina of Time where you just feel more and more powerful. And like Majora's Mask does this obviously really well with the use of the masks later on as well. But yeah, these games are hard to make.
I think that's the end of it. I don't think Skyward and Twilight did the same thing. Like they're interesting games and I should revisit them, but I don't think they're Ocarina-likes. I think they're their own things too.
Twilight Princess is better than you remember. It's just, it felt like there was just a lot in it, and it was sort of this half grown up game. Like the hardware wasn't powerful enough to do the thing that they wanted to do, and so it isn't as pretty as it should be. But there's some genuinely amazing moments in that game, and like moments of darkness too, with the skeletons. There's some good stuff in it.
Obviously, we're not here to talk about Twilight Princess, but I love the style and the NPCs and that. Like, there's just so many cool characters.
The kids look really cool.
Yeah, but I also remember it being super easy. Like, that was my takeaway. Is like, why is this so easy?
I think the difference between Ocarina and that, though, is that the child Link and the adult Link are really fun to be. It's not really fun to be Wolf Link. You kind of want to get out of that, and it's like these battles.
100%.
Like, that's not... And I think that's a problem. Like, just like you were saying too, like A Link to the Past, Dark Worlds is really fun. And it's cool to see the comparisons between them.
Yeah. The Wolf Link mechanic with going burr burr with that, like locking onto enemies is not as fun as the combat in the earlier games. And I would say the same about the DS Zelda games. Clicking on an enemy, it's just not, with a stylus, it's just not as fun as slashing and doing all the fancy sort of footwork and backflips. Like, you feel like a badass when you're fighting in Ocarina of Time, and it all works the way it's supposed to. Yeah.
So in the end of it all, you battle Ganondorf. Zelda's there. She screams when you get hurt. I think that's a really nice touch.
Yeah.
Defeat Ganondorf. The castle crumbles. Then, of course,
in some versions, Ganon bleeds blood, and others he bleeds green.
Green, yeah. I have the red.
What do you mean? Some version, like the Japanese version or something?
Well, that's why I do have 3 versions of Ocarina.
First run.
It was actually came in several different variations, and one of them you have to look at the cartridges. And then the cartridges have, and by the way, there's a shiny version.
But do you have that? Yeah, the fancy one.
Yeah. Dang. So the earlier ones have, they have red blood in them.
And then they removed. They had the Fire Temple has a chant in the background. It's like a Muslim chant or something.
Oh, interesting.
And they removed that one because it was a religious chant. Nintendo
just doesn't want
religion. They just didn't want to get in trouble. And like the red blood. Come on, the ESRB is not going to go back and rate it mature just because he barfs red blood in one scene.
Yeah.
You know? There's creeper stuff in there in the well scene.
Oh yeah, there is. So it's a hamster in the microwave situation.
That's right.
They defeat Ganon, send him to the void, and then Zelda sends Link back to be a boy again. But presumably he has all his memories and remembers the adventure he went on. Yeah. But then after you see the Return of the Jedi style celebration scene, then it ends with him going to visit Zelda, and then there's a very nice freeze frame there, the end.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a nice moment because Zelda doesn't know Link. But Link has all these memories of their adventure together, so it's like you're left to wonder, like, how does he handle the situation? It's just.
But Zelda does know Bob-ombs because she has pictures of them in her.
But
castle.
remember, if you fail, it's
Luigi and Bowser.
It's a reign of Ganon, and like the timeline splits, and only awful things happen.
Yeah.
No, it wraps up really nicely. Lore-wise, like the Zelda games just never nicely line up, and like a lot of stuff got retconned with Hyrule Historia to fit it all together, right? And how the stories go, and like it's fine, but even Majora's Mask does not neatly connect to this story as well. Like as an Alice in Wonderland story, it makes sense where the world of Ocarina of Time gets remixed, just like going up into the tornado, you end up in a world where everybody looks familiar, like in Dorothy's real world. Same thing happens here, but like it doesn't. It's almost like that's sort of the form follows function there, where they set out to make a game reusing the Ocarina of Time assets and then sort of retconned it to fit together, rather than this is the game they wanted to make. And like Majora's Mask is awesome, right? Like the 3-day structure is so unique. It is absolutely not like Ocarina of Time, despite looking like it in many ways. But I feel like Ocarina of Time is still the better balanced game. The through line, the stories, the dungeons are just more interesting in the end. And
no question,
you play as Link versus constantly transforming into creatures. So, like, look, I played through Ocarina of Time again, and I was just struck by the puzzle design being ingenious in some parts, like the puzzle box in the Fire Temple, the puzzle with following the 4 pose in the Forest Temple, like how you had to basically solve each direction of the dungeon and do things, and like it teaches you don't get close to the painting because then you can't do anything, and then you're like, oh, bow and arrow, I'm an idiot, right? The way you always feel really great when you figure something out, but the game does not help you a lot. And so some people did have to check things out in a strategy guide.
I'll say also, the modernizations of having the rewind mechanic, so helpful.
I
tried not to use it too much, but I was like, man, it's really nice just to rewind right here and save that bomb that I didn't need to use.
I use save states for a bunch of things too, just because I knew what was coming, and I was like,
in these games you couldn't, to people who didn't play them back then, like if you save, it saves most stuff, but like your hearts get reset, you're at the beginning of a dungeon, and so like it's sometimes hard to retrace your steps when you don't play for a couple of weeks, and with save states you just save where you left off, and it's just really nice.
So, Per, especially at time of release, this was an incredible interactive adventure. There was nothing else like it at the time. It was mind-blowing. Why didn't it sell more Nintendo 64s?
Well,
crazy. I would argue it's probably better than anything on the PlayStation.
No, it is. Obviously this was the age that Metal Gear also came out, Metal Gear Solid, and that impressed a lot of people, and that was a more grown-up experience. And then you got Final Fantasy moving to the PlayStation. So it was just Damon, it was a dark time for Nintendo. It was a period of war.
It would get darker because they would sell even fewer GameCubes.
Yeah.
The Sega Nintendo thing didn't help because this still looked like a kiddie game, and so did Mario. And then the reluctant, adopters really liked these, but it was a little embarrassing when you could be playing NHL on the PS1.
I think if you lived through that era, there was something happening with CD-ROMs and rich media content that seemed like the future. And like, I think some people missed the genius of games like Mario 64 and Ocarina of Time because they're like, oh my God, look, I've got a CD encyclopedia on my computer and all the menus are animated and I can watch a video of, the Taj Mahal and like, this is the future. And then Ocarina of Time and Mario were not like that. They used real-time rendering for the storytelling, and maybe that didn't look as good to some people as FMV. And like going like, if you remember, what was it, Rebel Assault, the game back then, where it was basically streaming video footage from the CD-ROM like Dragon's Lair, but you're like, oh, it looks like Star Wars, and it sounds like Star Wars, and that was not as cool as Shadows of the Empire, which was all rendered.
I think Sega CD had that game because I definitely played that FMV one.
I'm not making a good argument there because Shadows is not a great game, but the Hoth level was freaking amazing, right?
That one was.
And in hindsight, I don't understand. I think people were just ready to move to something that was more like a consumer electronics home appliance that was modern and grown up, and N64 still looked like a kid's toy and the last sort of you know, like a child's toy, even if the games had grown up without people noticing.
If you think the Nintendo 64 looks like a kid's toy, wait till you see the GameCube.
GameCube is actually really cool now when you look at it.
I miss the GameCube.
I love the GameCube.
I loved my GameCube.
It has a little handle.
I didn't own a 64 until I saw this game in November of 1998. Like I just it was uncool to me. I just had no interest. I kind of got been spurned by the Sega CD into the 32X into the Saturn, and I was like, oh my god, like buying all these consoles, like this is just so weird. Like my Super Nintendo had just ran out of games with the Chrono Trigger and Final Fantasy and stuff and Mario RPG, and it's like, am I really gonna switch to this? I'd played 64 to Super Mario 64 at a friend's house, but then this game came out and it was like, just kind of this demonstration of where games were. And I never even bought a PlayStation 1. So this game got me back into video games after being not into video games.
Yeah, I had them both, and I really appreciated what Sony was doing back then, right? Like we got games like Parappa the Rapper that were using the CD for something really clever, right? Mm-hmm. Like really catchy music with lyrics and stuff. And like the N64 was not that. And so then they're going sort of side by side for a while, and PlayStation managed to bring PC games over because it had, CD-ROM and more storage. N64 sort of struggled with it, then tried to do RTS games. Like nobody remembers StarCraft 64 or Command and Conquer 64, but these were actually functional RTS games that used the controller in clever ways. But Ocarina of Time was different. Ocarina of Time was sort of the entire game development community was waiting for this game and watching every move Nintendo was making with it. And now when you look back, it's no wonder, because it actually solved many issues that game developers needed to be solved in order to understand how to make games in 3D, right? Like from the camera system and the locking on to how you design a world around the limitations of hardware that couldn't push an entire open world, like just the trickery of it all. And then the sort of the light puzzles were amazing. Like using the mirror shield to like shine light beams, and like the way like lighting up a torch to solve a puzzle. All of that stuff was really brilliant in 3D. But I remember leading up to the release of this game, how like the nuggets started trickling out, and everybody going like, oh, I was just sort of like this epiphany, like that's how they're solving this? That's where the map goes? That's how the map works in 3D? That's how you show where Link is? People were learning it, and it was fascinating to see.
Oh man, the lower corner maps are so confusing in Ocarina.
Yeah,
like they always just look like some like weird squid, and you're just like, well, I don't know where I am in this. You start turning around, and
then you get the compass. And suddenly,
overworld though, there's nothing very.
No, it's true, but like the compass marks where you entered the room, and then it starts to sort of click again. Yeah.
So I watched the Lucas Arts or Lucasfilm documentaries that Disney Plus did I don't know, like last year or something.
Yep.
And then I rewatched the Peter Jackson behind the scenes DVD behind the scenes for the Lord of the Rings movies. Both like incredible, tens of hours of documentary on making some of my favorite things. Ocarina is the thing I want to see that for, and I'm just so sad that Nintendo is just not in that mood ever, and I don't know what they preserved.
I think it's lost. I think they just didn't have a camera there when they were doing stuff, and like they probably thought filming somebody programming is not exciting.
Yeah. But like every day of this development, how they developed the first 3D RPG, basically, like I want to know, like that's worthy of exposure. And what you're just saying, like how they solve these problems is like so interesting, and I'm so sad that we probably will never.
There's a fascinating thing about the N64 where before it came out, we all thought it was way more it was going to be way more powerful than we thought, right?
Really?
Because they had shown these they had shown these Silicon Graphics demos of what games would look like, and like I remember
the arcade games were out, Killer Instinct at all, right?
I think on another podcast I told the story of like Konami trying to make Goemon work on the N64, which is the most Zelda, the most Ocarina of Time game, is the 3D Goemon game, and like they were showing a pre-rendered demo of 2 players at the same time. They had to cut all that, right? Like they couldn't make this game run smoothly. Shadows of the Empire could not, because the N64 didn't have a dedicated sound chip. They had to figure out how to make the music sound like Star Wars, so they just did a mono sample of looping music that they played over and over. Like now, when you see what they had to do to make these games work, you realize like how restrictive the hardware was. Ocarina of Time famously showed us a forest scene in stills. There was like a Poe holding a lantern in a forest with lots of trees. That is not in the game because they couldn't render distinct all these trees.
Yeah.
It couldn't handle it, right? And so that's the fascinating stuff to me. I would have loved to have seen what they were trying to do and what they had to abandon for, and the reasons why, and how they worked towards still making such a coherent world in the end.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, highest rated game ever. Is it the best game of all time? I don't know about that, but it is definitely still fun to play today, and you can do
Still
so.
fun.
You can
Super
do
good.
so. We have to come up with some kind of like animation. Like, yep, still fun.
Still fun. Yeah.
You can play it on Nintendo Switch Online or the 3DS or a Wii or a Wii U that downloaded it from the Virtual Console, or of course the GameCube or the original Nintendo 64. Thank you to Per, Sam, and Miranda for joining me on this adventure. Viewers and listeners, I want to know what you think about this new show. Is it still fun today? Should we do more? What games should we revisit? If you have any feedback on this format, I would love to hear it. You can hit me up on the socials in the GameScoop Facebook group or email me at the address gamescoop@ign.com. My name is Damon, and I will see you in the next one.
I want to do the Dark World version of this show called It Was Never Fun.
It was never fun.
You do like, I don't know, Amagon or like Mylan's Secret Castle.